I'm holding a $15 tool that looks like it belongs in a dentist's office, not a wood shop. And in about 10 minutes, it's going to save you from throwing away a project you've spent 6 hours on. Let's go. Every single tool in this video looks a little ridiculous the first time you see it. That's exactly why most woodworkers scroll right past them. I almost did too. A couple of these sat in a drawer for over a year before I even tried them, because they just didn't look like they do anything useful. But there's one on this list, I'm not telling you which one yet, that I now reach for more than my table saw. And once you see why, you're going to look at your own drawer of forgotten tools completely differently. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly which weird tools are worth the money and which ones are just internet junk that looks good in a 30-second clip. No fluff, no filler. I've actually used every single one of these in my own shop, on my own projects, with my own money, and I'm going to tell you exactly where each one earned its spot and where it fell short. Some of these I bought expecting them to be a waste of money, honestly just to make a video out of the disappointment, and ended up keeping in permanent rotation instead. And the last one on this list is the entire reason I'm making this video at all, so stick around for that one, because it changes how you approach every single project after it, not just this one. Here's the thing about weird tools. Most of them get dismissed for one reason, and it has nothing to do with how well they work. They just don't look like what a tool is supposed to look like. A clamp is supposed to look like a clamp. A square is supposed to look like a square. So when something shows up that looks like a plastic claw or a metal shark fin, your brain says gimmick before your hands even touch it. That's a completely normal reaction. I've had it myself more times than I'd like to admit. But some of the most useful things in my shop broke that rule completely. And the ones that actually work all share one thing in common. They solve a problem you didn't know you had until you used one. Not a problem you were actively trying to fix, but one you'd already quietly accepted as normal. The kind of small inconsistency you just chalk up to your own skill level instead of a missing piece of hardware. That's the pattern I want you watching for as we go through this list, because it's going to matter a lot by the time we get to number 1, and it's the exact reason I saved the best one for last instead of leading with it. Number 1 on the list, and this thing genuinely confuses people the first time they see it, is a taper jig. It's a flat piece of hardware with a hinge and a scale on it, and it looks like it does absolutely nothing. No motor, no blade, nothing that spins. What it actually does is let you cut a perfect, repeatable taper on table legs without a single measurement mistake. You set the angle once, lock it down, and run every leg through identical over and over. Before I had one, every set of table legs I cut had at least one leg that came out a hair off, and you'd never notice it until all 4 were standing next to each other on the floor, and the whole table had a slight lean nobody could quite explain. That solves the taper problem. But it creates a new one, because now your legs are perfect, and perfect legs make every other joint on that table look sloppy by comparison. A slightly uneven mortise you could get away with before suddenly stands out like a sore thumb next to 4 identical clean tapers, and a client or a family member who never would have noticed a wonky leg will absolutely notice a wonky joint sitting right next to a perfect one, which is exactly the problem the next tool exists to fix. Number 2 is a doweling jig. It looks like a metal block with holes drilled in it at strange angles, and people see it and assume it's for something exotic or specialized. It's not. It's for making sure 2 holes on 2 separate boards line up close enough that a joint doesn't wobble once it's assembled. I used to eyeball dowel holes with a center punch and a steady hand. I got away with it maybe half the time. The other half, I was sanding a gap that shouldn't have existed, or worse, hiding it with extra glue and hoping nobody looked too closely. This jig ends that guessing completely every single time on the first try, no steady hand. Required and no holding your breath while you drill hoping the 2 holes actually line up on the other side of the glue up. Here's where it gets more interesting, because the next 2 tools on this list aren't fixing small cosmetic mistakes anymore. They're fixing mistakes that can ruin an entire piece before you even realize anything went wrong. Number 3, and this one looks the weirdest on the whole list, is a pair of winding sticks. 2 thin, straight sticks, usually walnut or maple. Nothing fancy about them at all. You lay one on each end of a board and sight down the top of them like you're aiming down a rifle barrel. If a board is twisted, even slightly, those 2 sticks will show it instantly, in a way your eyes alone never will looking at the board flat on a bench. I built an entire cabinet door out of a board I was completely sure was flat. It wasn't. I found out after glue up, which is about the worst possible time you could find out, because at that point there's no fixing it without starting over from scratch, tearing apart a joint that just cured overnight. One pair of $5 sticks, held up for 4 seconds before I ever touched a saw, would have told me everything I needed to know and saved me an entire evening in the shop. Number 4 takes that same idea of catching invisible problems and turns it into something that can genuinely wreck a finished piece if you skip it, and that's a marking gauge. Not a pencil, not a tape measure, but a small wheel or pin dragged along the grain that scores a fine line into the wood instead of drawing one on top of it. Sounds like a tiny difference. It isn't. A pencil line has thickness, and that thickness moves depending on how sharp your pencil happens to be that day, or how hard you're pressing, or the angle you're holding it at. A scored line from a marking gauge is exact, every single time, and it actually helps guide your chisel straight into the cut instead of you fighting to follow a fuzzy, inconsistent pencil mark. I ruined a set of matching drawer fronts once because 2 of them were cut to a pencil line, and 2 were cut to a scored line, and they didn't match when they sat side by side in the same cabinet. That's the exact moment I understood why every serious furniture maker keeps one of these within arm's reach at all times, not just for special projects, and why the ones with a good marking gauge tend to have far fewer mismatched parts sitting in their scrap bin at the end of a build. Now here's the one I told you about at the very start. The tool I reach for more than my table saw, more than my miter saw, more than almost anything else in this shop. It's a story stick. And if you've never heard of one, it looks like nothing at all. It's a plain strip of scrap wood with a few marks on it. No batteries, no moving parts, no price tag worth mentioning. Here's what it actually is. Instead of writing down a list of measurements for a project, 34.5 inches, 12 3/4, 6 1/8, you transfer every single one of those measurements directly onto one physical stick in order full size, straight off the actual project itself. And this is the part that changes everything. A tape measure has rounding built into it whether you realize it or not. You read it as about a 1/16, your eye shifts the angle slightly as you look down at it, and suddenly a cabinet with 6 shelves has 6 shelves that are all slightly different heights, and you don't know why until you're standing there staring at uneven gaps you can't explain. A story stick can't do that to you. There's no reading involved at all. You just hold the stick against the board and mark exactly where the mark already is. No interpretation needed. Every single measurement on that project comes from the same physical reference, so every single measurement stays consistent with every other one, even if the actual number written on a tape measure somewhere along the way would have been slightly wrong. I didn't believe this would matter until I built a set of kitchen shelves using a tape measure only, start to finish, and then rebuilt the exact same shelves 2 weeks later using nothing but a story stick. The tape measure set had 2 shelves that came out off by a 1/16 of an inch each. Doesn't sound like much when I say it out loud. It sounds like a lot when you're the one staring at a visible gap between a shelf and a cabinet wall that's supposed to look built in a kitchen your family's going to see every single day. The story stick set had 0 gaps. Not smaller gaps, not a slight improvement. 0. Every shelf sat exactly where the last one sat, because every single one of them came from the same physical reference instead of a fresh reading on a tape measure that could drift a little each time. So here's where that leaves you with all 5 of these. The taper jig and the doweling jig are the 2 I'd tell you to actually go buy. They're inexpensive, they solve one specific repeatable problem extremely well, and you'll use them constantly once they're in your shop. Winding sticks and a marking gauge, you can genuinely make yourself out of scrap wood in an afternoon. And honestly, that's what most experienced woodworkers actually do instead of buying them. There's no real advantage to a store-bought version of either one. But the story stick is the one that actually changes how you build, not just what's sitting in your tool drawer. It's not really a tool you buy at all. It's a habit you build into every single project from now on, and it costs you nothing but a strip of scrap wood and about 5 minutes of your time. The other 4 tools on this list fix mistakes after they happen or catch them right in the moment before it's too late. The story stick prevents an entire category of mistake from ever existing in the first place, because it removes the one weak link every other measuring method still depends on. You reading a number correctly Every single time, under bad shop lighting, with sawdust on your glasses, and your mind already 3 steps ahead on the next cut. So if there's one pattern to take away from this whole list, it's this. The tools that look the least impressive sitting on a shelf are usually the ones quietly solving the most expensive mistakes. A taper jig, a doweling jig, winding sticks, a marking gauge, a story stick. None of them look like much. None of them would stop you walking past in a store, and none of them would get a second look sitting in a bargain bin next to the batteries and the tape measures. All 5 of them have saved me from redoing a project that already took hours to get to that point, and at least one of them has probably already saved you money you didn't realize you were about to spend, whether that's an extra board because the first one got wasted, or an entire weekend redoing something that should have been right the first time. If you want to see which of the expensive, flashy tools are actually worth the money versus the ones that are just good marketing, that video's right there. Go watch it next. And if this video saved you from making one of these mistakes before it ever happened, that's exactly why I make these videos in the first place. Not to sell you on another gadget for the drawer, but to save you the evening in the shop I lost figuring some of this out the hard way. Hit subscribe. I genuinely appreciate it. See you in the next one.